a midnight break-in just grew into a White House cover-up, and then the presidency just fell apart on live television. I'm Matt Hasquin. I'm a high school history teacher, and we're going through Billy Joel's "We Didn't Start the Fire" lyric by lyric, line by line. And we had Moonshot, Woodstock. Here we go to Watergate, and then next one will be punk rock. But here we go with Watergate. And when Billy Joel sings Watergate, he's pointing to the scandal that began on June 17th of 1972 with a break-in at the Democratic National Committee offices in the Watergate complex in Washington, D.C., and it ended with Richard Nixon, the president, resigning in 1974. If we start with the crime, there were 5 men that were arrested inside the DNC offices, and they carried cash and wiretaps and links to Nixon's re-election committee, the CREEP, the committee to re-elect the president. At first, the story looked like a campaign dirty trick. Reporters, a federal judge, and a Senate investigation kept asking who paid, who ordered it, and who tried to hide it. Now, the cover-up is what is at the core of the whole thing. Inside the White House, aides raised cash for hush money, and they leaned on the CIA to slow down the FBI, and then plotted how to keep the arrests from, reaching the president. In 1973, the Senate Watergate Committee began televised hearings, and former counsel John Dean testified about a cancer on the presidency. And then came the shocker. An aide, Alexander Butterfield, revealed a secret taping system that had recorded Oval Office conversations. And from that moment, the questions became pretty simple. What did the tapes say? And would Nixon release them? The special prosecutor demanded the tapes, and Nixon refused, and he cited executive privilege, and then ordered the prosecutor fired in the Saturday Night Massacre in October of '73. Then public outrage just soared. You have a new prosecutor who presses on, and in July of '74, the Supreme Court ruled unanimously that Nixon had to hand over the tapes. One recording from June the 23rd of 1972 showed the plan to use the CIA to block the FBI within days of the break-in. Well, then after that, things fell apart. The political end came fast. The House Judiciary Committee approved articles of impeachment for obstruction of justice, abuse of power, and for contempt of Congress. Republican Party leaders told Nixon that he had lost support. And on August 8th of '74, Nixon announced he would resign the presidency. The next day, Gerald Ford took the oath and later issued a pardon for Nixon, arguing that a long trial would keep the country from moving forward. The scandal did not end with one man. Several aides went to prison. There were some new rules that were put in place, including campaign finance limits and stronger oversight of the intelligence community. Why? Why does Billy Joel sing this, right? Well, because Watergate became the shorthand for how a small crime becomes a constitutional crisis when those in power choose secrecy over the law. No one is above the law. When we tie it back to the song, Watergate captures, the burglars in an office, a nation watching the hearings, a Supreme Court making a ruling about the tapes, and then finally, a helicopter lifting off from the White House lawn with a newly resigned president. The reason why it matters is, Watergate explains accountability in a modern democracy, how checks and balances work, and it was on television when it happened, and why the cover-up often breaks what the original crime, could not. So anyway, if you enjoyed this particular episode on Watergate, we're going to come up next. Moonshot, Woodstock, Watergate. Next up is punk rock. Thanks for watching.